My name is Adam Braun. I'm the founder of Pencils of Promise and the author of the book, The Promise of a Pencil, How an Ordinary Person Can Create Extraordinary Change. I majored while at Braun in economics, sociology, and what used to be public and private sector organizations. And just always had an interest in social impact work, and went to work at Bain after college, after a fair amount of travel, and then ultimately put $25 in a bank account in hopes of building one school. And now Pencils of Promise has built over 200 schools globally with more than 20,000 students in our programs. So the best thing I could reference for turning a story about an individual into a movement is one of the later mantras of the book, which is listen to your echoes. And so ultimately, I think a lot of leaders, they believe that they have to carry the message forward, that it's their voice that eventually enables the idea to succeed. But the truth is, it's actually not your voice, it's the echo of your voice. It's others taking that original message and making it their unique message, and then when you hear it back, that's proof that it's succeeding. And so I actually try very, very hard to not be the focal point of the organization. As much as I know that I'm kind of the lead storyteller and I can act as an external ambassador, the most important thing for me is to create essentially an army of torchbearers who have their own extraordinary story that they have channeled through the organization, whether that means a girl who bicycled across the country to build a school, or somebody who gave up their birthday and ended up raising $5,000 and training 10 teachers this year. There's a lot of people that have extraordinary stories kind of latently waiting within them, and I feel like my job is to unlock that, and the organization's job is to allow them to channel that into positive impact. The most rewarding moment in my career was the groundbreaking ceremony of our very first school. It was just such an insurmountable idea at the time that this could be real, that I, as a 24, 25-year-old, could find a way to build a school. And as soon as we broke ground on that first one, I was by myself in this rural community called Patong in northern Laos, and I could just see the commitment of the community. And when that kind of first pick went down and they started laying the foundation and kind of digging the trenches, I knew that it was going to be something really special that was going to come out of Pencils of Promise. And the experience that I was having, which was so rewarding and emotional, was something that ultimately, if we could facilitate for others, would lead to significant success. Getting people to believe that our vision was going to work. You just hear no so much more than you hear yes, especially in the early days. And now, fortunately, because the organization's grown and is starting to get decently known, we walk into rooms and now people are excited to work with us. But for years, that was not the case. And so that was a huge challenge, was kind of pouring your heart and soul into a meeting for an hour and then having the other person walk away saying, yeah, this is really great, and then doing nothing. And you just have to kind of get over the emotional battle of you pouring your energy into an idea that not every person is going to necessarily believe in. And in fact, most don't. Otherwise, they would join you. But you just have to keep pushing through. And so I think that resilience is ultimately one of the biggest challenges for any entrepreneur. Best career advice that I've ever received is the phrase, make the little decisions with your head and the big ones with your heart. The CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi, one of the largest advertising agencies in the world, wrote a blog about myself and the organization, and so I kind of tracked him down and we had this 30-minute conversation on the phone, and I asked him for his best advice, and that's what he said to me. And truthfully, I think it's just so true. You have these little decisions throughout your day, and it's important to make them with your head, make them rationally, but the big ones, the really weighted ones, you have to go with your heart. I think the most powerful way and most direct way to discover your passion and purpose is to leave your comfort zone. You don't discover it just by being comfortable. And the way that I learned that was through looking at the great music that I loved most when I was a college student at Braun. So I got really into Bob Dylan and the Rolling Stones and the band and a lot of kind of 70s music. And when I looked at not only those musicians, but artists that I like or literary works that I really fell in love with, they were never written or created during periods of contentment. It was never when the person was happy and kind of hanging out with their friends. It was always during moments of struggle. Their country was at war, or someone had just broken their heart, or they were kind of in the midst of civil or political unrest. And that's when these great works of art happened. And so what I kind of drew from that was that you actually have to get outside of your comfort zone, and that's when kind of the magic occurs. And that ultimately, that's also when you stop identifying with what you are and discover who you are. Now the big goals have actually started to not only incorporate big kind of school count and training 1,000 teachers, putting 10,000 kids in our scholarship program, but I want to move almost into an entirely new space, which is what does the future of education look like? How are we going to educate kids going forward? And I think Pencils of Promise is uniquely positioned to start to figure that out, because now we have hundreds of schools around the world where we can test out what the future of education looks like. And we can pilot innovation and do things like e-readers or 3D printers that produce literacy toolkits. You know, we're excited about it in culture, but is the data behind it to prove that it works? And so that's the next thing that I'm excited about, is really trying to figure out what type of ideas and new teaching methods and new technologies can truly unlock the promise of a child.